Welcome to the Human First AI Marketing Podcast. Avenue 9 is our sponsor. Find more information at Avenue 9. My guest this week is Jordan Ledwein, the AI sales guy. You can find him at aisalesguy.com. Jordan, we're just going to jump straight into it. And the title of the podcast is Human First AI Marketing. I think especially in sales, this is a big deal. What does human first mean to you?
Yeah. First of all, Mike, thanks for having me on. Great to talk to you again. And I love the human first concept. And I know that we've talked about it before, even of this concept of augmented intelligence is kind of what I go back to, right? And I think the concept of augmented intelligence, which we'll probably dive into more, is, AI is most powerful when used alongside a human, right? So like I use the example of my listening skills not being as great as I'd like them to be. So what do? Is I use AI tools that help me improve my listening skills or maybe catch the things that I miss. So I can focus on the things that I'm good at, use AI in the things where I may have some room for improvement, and really still focus on the human connection piece while still using this technology in a way that makes our life a little bit easier.
Now, specifically in sales AI, I know you've tested tools across the board, hundreds or thousands of them at this point. I think there's a wide range from, Terminator robots designed to replicate salespeople and go out and, capture leads and bring them back to the hive, to really great seller assisted stuff, or things that are maybe even in the best interest of the buyer to help them get answers quickly and stuff. Where do you think the spectrum is as we sit here at the end of 2024? What's most effective, and what are buyers enjoying as far as and maybe sellers too, buyers and sellers enjoying as far as tools out there?
Yeah, it's a good point, because I see it all over, especially social media, of people talking about using this or using that tool to replace yourself, replace what you do. And I'm a little bit weary of replacing myself in what I do. I'd rather, empower myself to do more. So it might be that I use this AI tool to make this video, or this automation tool to send that outreach, or whatever it might be. But what I'm doing is I'm doing that to spend more time in meetings, or to spend more time working with my current prospects. So I'm not trying to, we talk about the breakdown of sales time versus non-sales time. I'm not trying to use AI to replace my selling time. I'm trying to use AI to expand my selling time, right? So I'm using AI in a lot of ways to help with the administrative workload, help with the note taking, help with the CRM input, the things that I'm not really excited to do in the first place, and the things that take me away from what it is I really am here to do, which is sell. So
what, sellers aren't excited about using the CRM?
Believe it or not, I think it's as close to a 4-letter word as it gets for salespeople. But at the end of the day, I think that these tools, they're making us so that we can have better connections, right? I mean, Humantic AI is one that we talk about a lot, but 10 minutes before a meeting, I get an email saying, hey, this is who Mike is. Here's some of the things that he enjoys. Here's how you should talk to Mike to build a better relationship. And what seller wouldn't want tips to build a better relationship with someone they're just about to meet?
Yeah, I think that's awesome. And I love your talk tracks around selling time. Like, we're not trying to replace that face-to-face, voice to voice, video to video, live conversations. We're trying to replace all that other junk. I think that goes for buyers too, right? That it's not that we want to automate the whole buying journey. It's that we want to automate the parts that maybe when they're shopping around, or they're wasting time, or they're looking for information and stuff that we know we don't need human sellers to do. Is that fair on the buying side too?
I mean, think about something as simple as an AI chatbot, or even take AI out of it. Think about just a chatbot, which we've been familiar with for a while now, right? I mean, there's a lot of questions that I've asked chatbots that I don't need a live sales rep on the phone to answer that question. It's pretty simple. If I can just go to the website, type in some questions, get my answers, I'm further along in the buyer's journey than I was beforehand. And I have this company to thank for it. So it's building a little bit of trust too. It also, from the buying perspective, that's how I want to get information. I don't want to have to sit on hold or schedule a meeting with someone to talk to them, to ask them a simple question. And on the sales side, they probably don't want to spend 5 minutes answering the same question over and over and over again. So the ways that we can use technology actually help both parties in a way where it saves us time and just gets rid of some of the unnecessary back and forth that was always a thing in sales, and helps us really spend time where it matters.
Yeah, I love all that, and you and I have had several conversations about this, so I know we're repeating ourselves, but this is the first time on this podcast. So I want to ask you about some of the other aspects, because I think when people hear AI sales guy, they don't really know what AI means, and we've already talked about a few different tools, from machine
Mhm.
learning, maybe like Humantic, that can learn their disk profile communication preferences and give you tips on that, to automation for the CRM system, or natural language processing for sales emails and chatbots. And
Mhm.
I think there's some interesting stuff going on with predictive analytics, and some of the stuff that you're doing at AI Sales Guy and Sales Lift is um, looking at wide sales teams or a lot of processes and seeing maybe where deals get stuck or where buyers are dropping off. And there's some interesting stuff that humans have never been able to do before, just because we can't keep track of that sheer number of data
Mhm.
points. Can you tell us more about what's going on and where the kind of the state of sales is on that?
Yeah. When I think about that, sales has been such a gut instinct type of world for so long, right? I mean, when you talk to most sales leaders and say, "So how do you forecast?" They go, "Well, I go to Joe and I ask him how much he thinks he's going to sell this year. And I know he's a sandbagger, so I had 25% onto that number." And I go to, right. And it's like, that doesn't sound very, science-based or data-backed. But the problem is, we haven't really kept our data anywhere from a sales perspective. It's been on a sticky pad or a Rolodex or our inbox or Excel or something like that, where when we start to use some of these CRMs, and especially the way that CRMs are becoming AI powered and making it that much easier to use them, what we're doing is we're capturing as much data as possible, more data than we've ever had in sales, so that we can make smarter decisions. So one example I use a lot is lead source. Let's pretend you're tracking your lead source for all your deals in your CRM. Well, what you can do with that information is, at the end of the year, you can see how many deals have I closed through each lead source, how much revenue is each lead source bringing me, how many deals have I lost in each lead source, what's my close rate, and you can figure out what's the efficiency of your prospecting behaviors. Are you prospecting in the right different areas? Is inbound versus outbound more effective? What's happening? In the past, we've always had to guess or say, it seems like this is happening, but we all know there's a little bit of human bias that goes into that. The beauty with a lot of this is we're using a lot of AI tools to get all of the data necessary into a CRM. And that CRM is allowing us to track and analyze trends and data that we haven't had access to before. And it's helping some sales leaders notice some things that they never realized in the past.
Yeah, it's fascinating. I think it's going to be really fun, and it feels like a really ethical way to sell, that we're using all of this information we didn't have before, not to manipulate people or to make these limited time offers. And I don't know about you, but my inbox and stuff is getting flooded right now with all the end of the year offers and
Yep.
special discounts and stuff, and you're just like, it feels not in my best interest. But I think some of the tools that methods we've been talking about really does feel ethical for the seller and the buyer to bring up insights, to treat people the way they want to be treated, and to do smarter things that work, and not just spam people, or like you said, record a video and send it to 20,000 names that we bought off an AI
Exactly.
scraper or something, right?
Well, and the problem, honestly, with sales technology isn't sales technology. It's the sales strategy behind the sales technology isn't good, right? So, like, you can send any automated message. I use the example of LinkedIn all the time, right? I mean, you see someone send you an invite, you don't know who they are, and you see their tagline, and you're like, I know I'm going to get pitched the second I accept this invite. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
who wants to accept that? Whereas when I'm doing a similar thing on LinkedIn with automated messaging and providing value, but that's what I'm doing, is I'm providing value, and I'm not selling anything. I'm not leaving my calendar link. I'm not saying, here's all my features and benefits. I'm saying, hey, here's a white paper on how to do this. Or, hey, I saw you're doing this. Have you ever thought about trying this? And I'm trying to actually build a connection and trust where I have their best interest in mind. And if you have the buyer's best interest in mind, the way you use this technology is benefiting both of you. But I think the strategy behind how you sell is important here.
Yeah, that's awesome. I want to ask a little bit more about strategy, but I also want to zoom into tools. So let's go with the strategy first. When you look at the market right now, I'm seeing a wide range of people. There's probably still a lot of small businesses that don't have any type of CRM or tool. Some people they're probably at least using Zoom or some of the AI tools built into stuff that they already have.
Mhm.
But I think a lot of the larger companies even still don't have sophisticated setups for tying all of these tools together. They
Yeah.
got people checking 84 different systems or trying to use 20 different tools that don't necessarily talk to each other. Can you talk
Mhm.
a little bit about the strategy and maybe some of the key buckets of tools that we want to make sure we have, like a call recorder, have that sync to a CRM, have some sort of buyer intelligence? What are the main buckets of sales tools at the moment?
Yeah, no, that's a good point too, because some of the larger organizations, they're not as nimble as a startup, right? Or they can't move as quickly. So to unwind and rewind policies or technologies or whatever, it's not something that happens overnight. So I think the good news is everyone's looking at this and trying to figure out what to do or where to start. And there's a lot of places to start depending on where you are, right? There's different stages in like the sales tech maturity journey that I talk about. But when it comes to the categories, CRM is such a critical component because it's the database of a sales team or a salesperson, right? I mean, think about having a second brain. That's your CRM. And for the most part, a lot of these AI tools, whether it's Fathom or Buzz AI or Humantic or whatever, you can use them alone, but they work best when connected with a CRM. And a lot of times, you don't even have to use that AI tool once you connect to the CRM. It's just all going into one place. So you have CRM, which is important. You have conversational intelligence or AI note takers, right? So Fathom, very, very popular one, easy one to get started with because there's a free version. Sybil and Attention are two of my other favorites. But then, of course, there's Otter, there's Fireflies, there's Avoma, Zoom AI. There's plenty of options out there. Another one that I do like is the buyer intelligence, right? So the Humantic AI, the Crystal Nose, the human linkers of the world, Clay. Like, how can we use technology to customize our messaging and really understand our buyer? And those three categories, I think, can apply to most people. And then from there, it gets pretty nuanced into what exactly you need, whether you're prospecting on signals, and you can use an AI tool that finds signals in the marketplace by reading quarterly reports or things like that, or maybe it's on the deal intelligence side of things and you need better forecasting. You need a way to track that. So it does get pretty specific, but I think CRM, conversational intelligence, and then something that you can use to make the buyer's experience better. Could be buyer intelligence, could be something else. But I think start
I
there.
was gonna maybe add a couple of those. I think the account-based marketing stuff for large enterprise sales are really interesting. There's some cool stuff going on with Zoom Info and Sixth
Mhm.
Sense and others that can give you much wider insight into what an organization is doing, like what their conversations are about. Even are they talking about improving their customer service, or are they talking about acquiring more new customers or retaining and retention? Seeing like what keywords are trending inside an organization is really fascinating to me. The other one I think we missed, which is a pretty big bucket here, is analytics and reporting for sales leaders or even salespeople, and getting some sort of historical leading or lagging indicators on the back end. Do you have any recommendations for that?
Well, the beautiful thing is if you do decide to go with CRM first, a lot of them have that reporting capability built in. So I think that's a beautiful thing. I mean, for the most part, if you don't have a CRM, there's not really much of a need for reporting, right? Because what are you going to report on? There's not a data source for that. So with that being said, a lot of the AI tools will have some reporting around how you're using their tool. But I think if you can get that data into a CRM and then use that CRM's reporting, or even there's more advanced reporting that you can sometimes latch onto a CRM if it needs to be specific, I think that's a great place to start. And that's like one of the things that's really nice is even within HubSpot now, like they have AI deal scores, right? So now all of my deals have an
Yeah.
AI score attached to them for forecasting. I just had to click turn on beta, right? So there's things like that it's not a big lift from a sales leader or a company standpoint, and it can give you some really big ROI just very quickly.
I got one more for you, and then we'll wrap up with what you think the future looks like from here. But I think there's also some buckets of tools and training and development that you also do here with like AI role plays, or even using ChatGPT to practice some stuff, craft your scripts,
Mhm.
using the voice modes to even role play and things. Have you found any training tools or educational AI things that are particularly helpful for salespeople?
I mean, ChatGPT, it's still the king of the castle, right? I mean, it can't be beat yet. It's still on the top of the trends. And for a lot of people, they come and they say, is it really worth the investment? I think so, right? I've been paying for it for 2 years because of exactly what you said. I can talk to it. I can have conversations. I can role play with it. Definitely a great tool. Then there's more advanced tools. Like one of them is Udly that we're talking to here at Sandler and trying to figure out how do we use AI role play or AI coaching feedback for a rep to understand what are the things that they're picking up on and doing well with, and where are their areas for improvement. So the cool thing that we're doing too is, let's imagine we have a Udly AI role play, but then we have Fathom, right? AI on a call. So this one you prepare before the call. This one is on the call. What we're doing is we're essentially, think about the NFL or any sports that you watch. You have your practice film and now you have your game film. And you can see how are you performing in each one. And you can, see how the scores look and say, hey, I'm doing pretty good with asking questions in the role play, but for some reason on the call, I don't have the guts to ask the questions I need. Maybe I need to practice asking these questions a little bit more. And again, it's the first time where we're getting, tangible feedback to say, here's how I can improve, rather than, I think they liked me. They probably just, need some time. Right. So just some really cool ways for us to continue becoming better salespeople for our buyers.
Yeah, I've tested several that I enjoyed using. One was a public speaking thing for virtual presentations where you perform a 60-second thing and it'll score your hand gestures. Like I just moved my hand when I talked about it into the screen. Because if you're doing all your gestures below the camera, nobody sees it. It's not great. So I thought that was really cool and can manage your tone and your filler words and all kinds of stuff like that can really help you improve your presentation skills. At Sandler, we beta tested one of those where you can practice your sales techniques and it'll score what you were learning and what you were hoping to accomplish in an agenda and whether you executed those or not. There's also things that'll record your calls and kind of give you sentiment analysis. I think it's very dangerous during a call because it'll distract you completely. But when you go back and check that call recording and say, ooh, you kind of lost the buyer here. They were making some weird facial expressions, or they tuned out and checked email and other stuff here that can kind of give you some feedback long-term on how you can improve your skills.
I agree. And I use that example, exactly there on the sentiment analysis, because I'll be doing a demo sometimes and I'm not focused on the nonverbal cues of the 5 or 6 people on the call. I'm looking at my screen. I'm looking at what I'm trying to show off. So there's so much I'm missing that the AI tools aren't missing, and even if I was paying attention, I'd still miss a little bit. The AI tools miss less, if anything, right? So it's almost like I look back and I say, how did I do, what I used to do without this technology before? And I think everyone will be at that point once they figure out how to start to use it and really make it easy and a part of their workflow rather than, confusing and just this mystery out there.
Once again, we're talking with Jordan Ledwein, the AI sales guy. You can find him at aisalesguy.com if you want to figure out how to solve some of these challenges for your sales team. Reach out to Jordan. If you want to figure out some on the marketing side, reach out to me. We both take a human-first approach and trying to respect sellers, marketers, as well as buyers throughout the process and protect your brand and stuff too, rather than automate it and genericize it and template everything. And I think that makes a big difference. So Jordan, before I let you go, let's talk about the big question. I think who knows what's going to happen in the next year. These tools can change, overnight, and there are people working on some really cool stuff. But I'd like to look a little bit further out at just like the state of sales and the profession itself. If you think like 5 years out in 2030, what do you think sales and marketing and the world of, maybe B2B business will look like with AI?
Yeah. So I think there's some predictions I'm more certain of and some that I'm more like, oh, we'll see. Right. But I think near term, we're going to see the agent concept, AI agents, become so much more popular. Right. So you've already seen it in HubSpot, a little bit of like a prospecting agent. Right. Today, if you're to use AI to prospect, you got to go here to get the script, here to create your ICP, here to find the people, right? There's still a couple of steps. Where in the future, the goal is to go to an AI agent and say, hey, I want to prospect B2B construction sales leaders in Charlotte that are in a company like this. It goes and it finds the people, it creates the prompt, it creates the draft, and then you just have to say, okay, hit send, right? So I think these agents are going to become much more popular. I also think there's going to be some regulation, right? So like right now, we're kind of in the Wild West of AI. You can kind of do what you want. People are like, is that allowed or is that legal? And so I'm like, well, yeah, but there's an ethical way to do it and a non-ethical way to do it, right? And I think that's why this conversation is so important, because putting the human first and the buyer first and the sales rep first is the ethical way to go about using AI, in my opinion. But with things like AI call or AI cold calling and things like this, I mean, imagine when that gets good enough to, replace a human one for one. There's going to have to be some regulation around that, or else
I
it's going
think
to
it pretty much has at this point. I've heard some that do it fairly well, and let's be honest, humans aren't really great at it. So yeah, and the weird thing is, like, when there's AI buying agents as well and purchasing agents, like, we're gonna have AI selling to AI, and that gets really crazy.
It does get crazy, and where I potentially see it is, like, think about, you have 10 people making cold calls in the future. Well, in the future, I expect you probably cut that down to 2 or 3, and you give those 2 or 3 people 10 AI cold calling agents, and you take your top 2 or 3 people and they replicate themselves in these cold calling tools. They enjoy it. Their job becomes easier, more enjoyable. You can take those 7 people and apply their skills in more opportunistic areas in the business, because let's be honest, who likes picking up the phone and getting told no 50 times a day for that one yes, right? So there's ways where we can use this technology to allow, again, humans to do what we enjoy doing, which are typically other areas. So who knows what's going to happen? Who knows the timeline? It's probably short, whatever it is, it's going to be soon. But regardless, I'm excited to see what happens.
Do you think we will reach general intelligence, or some sort of sentient AI, and when?
I'd be surprised if we didn't, honestly, just with the rate that things are going. I don't know when. I hope we got another 10 years to kind of figure this out, because honestly, I think there's a lot of things that we need to figure out from an AI perspective on how to safely use it before it gets to that point. But thankfully, there's a lot smarter people making those decisions for me, or at least I hope that's the case. So we'll see.
I think that's fair. I think we're definitely gonna get there. We've, I think, crossed a lot of difficult hurdles, and there's still some big ones left as far as processing power and speed and sort of matrixed intelligence that our brain uses and stuff. But they're making advancements in reasoning and stuff that I think is going to be solvable. Like we know the chips will get smaller, the things will get faster, the models will get smaller, necessary to do this. And
think about the first computer that came out, right? Think about the first computer, and think about a laptop today or your iPhone, right? That's where we are with AI, is like where the first computer was. It's like, it's in its infancy. So I think there's a long road ahead, and I don't know that anyone would have predicted we would have ended up all walking around with a computer in our pocket. But we'll see what happens with AI.
Yeah, I mean, Jordan, you're not quite old enough to remember, but when I was in like high school, we would wait for 30 minutes for a document to print. It would go one line at a time, and downloading images on the internet over dial-up would literally take hours.
My generation might have a conniption if that would occur. If my Amazon package doesn't get here by 4 p.m. today, exactly. Be upset, right?
That's a great one. You can get an Amazon package to your door faster than you could have downloaded and printed a book in the 90s. Crazy. So that's really only 30 years. So I think within our lifetimes, amazing things are going to happen. My fear is that this is going to happen faster than people think, and the reskilling that's needed for our workforce and our processes are going to be behind, and the legal ramifications to protect people and stuff are going to be too slow because we're not built for this sort of speed and innovation. But I also still have optimism that there's a lot of good people in the world trying to do good things, a lot of smart people working on it. And in general, I know we're training these things and we're emotional beings, but artificial intelligence doesn't have the same fears, worries and things that I think cause humanity a lot of problems.
Yeah.
So as long as we can kind of keep that separate and keep it more logical, reminds me of like the Star Trek and, Data or the computer. Like the computers doesn't care about the people on board. It's trying to accomplish a job and do tasks.
Exactly. Well, I think it's the same thing here, right? It's the people behind it. It's the sales strategy behind it, whatever. And I'm not saying that AI can be, not used in a good way. Of course it can, just like any technology. But like, I'm seeing people go and set up like an Alexa for, their grandparents who are in memory care, and it's helping them remember to go to lunch or remember to go to bingo. And like their grandparents can ask it the same question 15 times in a row and it doesn't get upset. And it's a way where we can use technology to really help us in some ways that we haven't had the chance to before too. So it's exciting.
Love it. Thanks for being on the show, Jordan. How can we help you, or how can you help us?
I mean, like Mike said, my goal is to help kind of retool and reskill the sales world to make sure that we're comfortable with technology when we have to use it. So if I can help with you with anything, or if you have any questions, feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. It's Jordan Ledwein. Or you can visit the AIsalesguide.com. I got a webinar on there. I got a white paper on there. I got links to connect with me. So happy to nerd out on AI or answer any questions if I can.
You bet. We will do that all the time. Same goes for me. Jordan and I love nerding out on this. If we can help you, reach out. Avenue9.com is the website. Human First AI Marketing. And I think of it like high volume content, inbound marketing. In today's world, the variable cost of content has dropped significantly with AI. So in a world where you can make anything, what do you want to make? What's the strategy? How is it going to help you connect with your audience and get things done? That's what I love talking about. We'll do it more next time. Have a great week, everybody.
See you, Mike.